Some stories don't start with fireworks or screaming matches. Sometimes they begin with something so ordinary it feels almost insulting. A chipped coffee mug, a quiet Sunday morning, a thin white envelope sitting in a stack of bills and junk mail. If you had walked into my apartment that day, you wouldn't have known that my whole life was about to crack open. You would have seen a woman in an old t-shirt, hair in a messy bun, sorting through coupons and credit card offers. You would have had no idea that inside that one elegant envelope was a price tag of $76,000. And the moment I finally stopped being my family's personal ATM, I was halfway through the stack when I saw it. Heavy cream paper embossed with a tasteful green logo, Bellamy Gardens, the most exclusive wedding venue in town. I frowned, turning it over in my hands. I had never been there, never even toured it. I slid my finger under the flap, the paper giving way with a soft tear, and unfolded the contract inside. The morning light poured across my desk, catching on the gold letterhead like it was mocking me. My coffee cup hovered halfway to my lips as my eyes skimmed the pages. Names, dates, payment schedule. And then I saw it, my signature at the bottom, my full name written in confident strokes, authorizing payments totaling $76,000 for my sister Destiny's wedding. For a second, my brain refused to process what I was seeing. I just stared at the ink, at the familiar shape of my name, twisted into something wrong. The loops were too round, the slant too eager. It looked like my signature, but not the way my hand moved when I was the one holding the pen. Then my stomach dropped. Those curls at the end of each letter, the dramatic flourish on the Y, the way the dot over the I landed slightly to the right. They weren't mine. They were Destiny's imitating mine. The room tilted. My fingers went numb, and the mug slipped from my hand, shattering against the hardwood floor. Coffee splashed across my bare feet, hot and dark, but I barely felt it. This can't be happening. I whispered to no one, clutching the contract so tightly the paper crinkled. My heart hammered against my ribs as I grabbed my phone and dialed the number printed at the top of the page. A cheerful voice answered, Bellamy Gardens. "How may I help you?" I swallowed, suddenly aware of how thin my voice sounded. "This is Andy Collins," I said, forcing the words out. "I'm calling about a wedding contract for Destiny Collins." There was a brief pause, then warmth flooded the woman's tone. "Oh, Miss Collins. Yes, we're all very excited about your sister's special day. Everyone here has been talking about your generous gift. It's not often we see such a beautiful gesture between siblings." The first tear slid down my cheek before I could stop it. My generous gift. The one I had explicitly refused to give. The one currently carved into legal paper with my stolen name. "Thank you," I managed because I didn't trust my voice to say anything else. I hung up and sank into my chair, the contract trembling in my hands. Memories rose like floodwater. 16-year-old me scooping ice cream late into the night, while Destiny posted poolside selfies with friends. My graduation money quietly borrowed for her spring break trip to Cancun. The countless transfer notifications on my phone, small amounts at first, then bigger each one with a text from Mom. "You're the responsible one, honey. Destiny's just finding herself." It had always been framed as a compliment. My responsibility, my maturity, my success, like they were gold stars on a chart instead of chains around my ankles. 2 months earlier at Sunday dinner, Destiny had flashed her enormous engagement ring under the chandelier while everyone squealed. Dad had looked straight at me, refilling his wine glass. "We were thinking," he said casually, "since you've got that promotion coming, you could help give your sister the wedding she deserves." The room went quiet, every eye locking onto my face like I was a walking credit card. My hands had shaken under the table as I whispered, "I can't afford that. I'm still paying off my student loans." The silence afterward had been heavier than any argument. Mom's disappointed sigh, Destiny's dramatic pout, Dad's jaw tightening. "Family takes care of family, Andy. That's how we raised you," he said, as if I were failing some sacred test. Mom had patted my hand and added, "Don't you want your sister to be happy? After everything you've accomplished, surely you can manage this one thing." Destiny had leaned in voice, sweet and sharp at the same time. But you have that promotion coming. The venue deposit is due next week. That was the night I realized they didn't see me as a daughter anymore. They saw me as a dependable resource, a walking solution, an ATM with a pulse. Now the contract lay in my lap, proof that saying no hadn't mattered at all. My laptop chimed on the desk beside me, snapping me out of the memory. A new email notification glowed in the corner of the screen. Subject line, interior design position. Charleston office interested in your portfolio. Eleanor from work had mentioned that opening last week an offhand suggestion between coffee refills. Charleston, 3 states away. A fresh start I hadn't let myself imagine. I stared at the subject line, my reflection faintly visible in the glossy laptop screen. Pale face, wide eyes, damp hair clinging to my cheeks. My gaze dropped back to the forged signature. $76,000. Years of sacrifice that no one had ever thanked me for. All the times I had gone without so Destiny could have something shinier, louder, easier. My throat tightened, but something else flickered beneath the panic, something small and hot and stubborn. "This ends now," I whispered. The words felt strange at first, like trying on clothes that weren't mine yet. But as they hung in the air, something inside me shifted just a little. Not enough to change my life in that moment, but enough to make me reach for my laptop with shaking hands and type one word into my email search bar: wedding. The search results appeared instantly, a flood of old emails stretching back months. I scrolled past Pinterest ads and discount bridal newsletters until one subject line stopped me cold: Andy's contribution. My pulse thudded in my ears as I clicked it open. It was a thread between Mom, Dad, and Destiny dated 2 months earlier, just after that dinner. Mom's words glowed on the screen like poison. "She'll give in eventually. She always does. Remember how she said no about Destiny's car repairs last year? Within a week, she wrote the check." My chest tightened as I scrolled. Destiny's reply followed beneath it, casual, heartless. "If not, we'll figure something out. She's got the credit for it." The air seemed to vanish from the room. They weren't just hoping I'd help. They were planning to take it regardless of what I said. My hand trembled on the mouse, but my mind was already shifting gears. I opened a new spreadsheet and titled it Family Loans. Line by line, I listed every dollar I had ever handed over. The spring break trip, the emergency medical bill, Dad's failed business investment, Mom's bridge loan that never bridged back. By the time the sun pushed through the blinds, I had cataloged 10 years of quiet sacrifices. The total at the bottom glared up at me like a verdict, $42,387. And now they had added $76,000 more without my permission. At 9 a.m., my phone buzzed a text from Destiny. "Just saw the bridal suite at Bellamy. It's amazing, thinking of upgrading the flower package. Only an extra $1,000 for Kelvin orchids." Thoughts attached was a photo of her beaming in a silk robe, glass of champagne in hand. Her fiancé was nowhere in sight. I didn't respond. 20 minutes later, Mom called. "Andy, honey, did you see Destiny's message about the flowers the venue needs to know by tomorrow?" Her voice was light, practiced, almost cheerful. "I'm not paying for flowers, Mom," I said quietly. A heavy sigh filled the line. "This attitude isn't like you, sweetheart. What will people think if Destiny's wedding looks cheap?" The Henderson family already commented on how generous you've been. Everyone's talking about it. I never agreed to pay for anything, I said, my voice low but steady. "Family supports family. That's how we raised you." She snapped her tone, shifting from sugar to steel, then softer. "I just hope you're not becoming one of those selfish career women who forget where they came from." When the call ended, I sat frozen for a moment, heart hammering, then turned back to my laptop. Something inside me hardened. I opened my credit report and felt my stomach drop again. My score had fallen nearly 40 points overnight. A new line of credit: Bellamy Gardens had been added under my name. They hadn't just forged my signature, they had used my identity. My phone buzzed again. Eleanor's name flashed on the screen. "Hey," she said brightly. "Have you thought about that Charleston job?" The hiring manager called again. "They really liked your portfolio." I blinked at the sunlight streaking across my apartment. They did. Dead serious, she said. The salary's 20% higher plus relocation assistance. And Andy, her voice softened, it'd be a clean break from all that family drama you've been dealing with. For the first time in weeks, hope flickered. After we hung up, I called James, the only friend who truly knew how deep my family's demands ran. They forged my signature. I said, my voice shaking. $76,000, James. There was a long silence on the line. Then his voice calm and certain. That's not normal, Andy. That's exploitation. That's a crime. I closed my eyes, exhaling shakily. What if I just left? Honestly, he said quietly, it might be the only way to survive them. That night, I sat at my kitchen table drafting my resume. My fingers trembled with exhaustion, but beneath that was something sharper. Not fear, possibility. The next morning, I cornered Eleanor in the break room. Thank you for recommending me, I said. She smiled, squeezing my shoulder. You've earned it. Charleston would be lucky to have you. For the first time in months, I smiled back, a real smile. By lunchtime, I'd scheduled the interview for Monday right in the middle of what Mom thought would be my fabric review meeting. While my family planned their perfect wedding, I was quietly planning my escape. That night, as I scrolled through apartment listings in Charleston, a text from Mom popped up. Destiny added monogram napkins, only $3 per guest. We're at 300 guests now. Will you call the venue to approve? I stared at the glowing screen, the letters blurring through my tears. Then without replying, I turned my phone to silent and slid it into the desk drawer. For once, I didn't owe them an answer. I opened my calendar and blocked out Thursday at noon with a single phrase, important personal business. 3 states might not be far enough, I thought, but it was a start. Sunday dinner at my parents' house felt like walking into a play where everyone had already rehearsed their lines. The moment I stepped inside, Aunt Mabel enveloped me in a perfume-soaked hug. You sweet, generous girl, she said, patting my cheek. Funding Destiny's entire wedding, your mother told everyone. What a blessing you are. My stomach twisted and I forced a tight smile. I think there's been a misunderstanding, I murmured, but before I could elaborate, Mom appeared, her hand slipping around my arm like a leash. Andy, the Hendersons were just asking about the venue. Come tell them how you insisted on Bellamy Gardens. Her tone sparkled with pride, the same practiced warmth she'd used on PTA volunteers and church committees. The living room buzzed with laughter and soft jazz. Dad stood by the fireplace, swirling a glass of wine, holding court with his golf buddies. My daughter Andy wouldn't hear of anything less than the best he boasted. She said Destiny deserves a perfect day. His words made me feel hollow like a ghost, standing among people who'd already rewritten me into a role I never auditioned for. Across the room, Destiny floated in a pale pink dress, basking in the attention. She caught my eye, smiled, and bounced over with something cradled in her arms. Look what arrived today, she chirped, thrusting a massive floral centerpiece toward me. Crystal teardrops dangled from silver-dusted roses, each one glittering like gilt. Sample centerpieces. We need 30 tables minimum. I told them you said the sky's the limit. 30, I choked. How many guests are you inviting? Mom appeared again, planner in hand. 300 feels right for our family, don't you think? 300 guests. At a venue I never agreed to fund. My heartbeat roared in my ears. Destiny continued blithely. Oh, and the planner needs your card for the ice sculpture deposit. My lips moved, but no sound came out. I need some air, I muttered, slipping away to the back porch. The night air was cold and sharp, cutting through the noise behind me. For a moment, I just stood there watching the reflection of party lights shimmer in the window pane, wondering how I had become the family's unwilling sponsor. The next day at 12:30 p.m., I sat in my car in the office parking lot, laptop balanced on the steering wheel. My interview began with a polite smile and the calm voice of Gregory Winters, creative director of Charleston Home and Design. Your portfolio shows remarkable restraint, he said after flipping through my slides. Most designers your age overdo it, but your spaces breathe. My pulse steadied. Thank you. I believe homes should feel lived in, not staged. He nodded, impressed. What salary range are you looking for? 3 months ago, that question would have triggered a nervous laugh and a self-effacing apology. But now I didn't hesitate. Based on my experience in Charleston's market, $82,000 annually plus standard benefits. His eyebrows lifted, pleased. That's right in our range. When he joked about Southern hospitality extending to office coffee, I laughed for real, startled by how easy it felt. When the call ended, I sat, still realizing my hands weren't trembling. The week blurred into quiet preparation. I gathered documents, bank statements, and every text that proved I had refused to pay for the wedding. Saturday brunch brought another ambush. The doorbell rang and Mom feigned surprise. "Who could that be?" she said with false brightness. The answer stepped through the doorway in a cloud of perfume and leather folders. "Marissa Williams," she introduced herself, shaking my hand. "Wedding planner. Your sister speaks so highly of you, I brought the updated invoices for your approval." "My approval," I repeated, slowly flipping open the folder she pressed into my hands. Every page glittered with excess custom champagne flutes, imported orchids, a $10,000 lighting package. "These charges seem excessive," I said evenly, glancing at Destiny, whose face had gone pale. "What's this one for lighting?" Marissa blinked. "Your sister said you specifically requested premium theatrical lighting for the dance floor." Destiny laughed too quickly. "Andy loves dramatic lighting." "Right, Andy." I met her eyes and smiled coldly. "Could I see all the contracts, please?" "Andy's just being thorough," Mom interjected, voice sugary and sharp. "Marissa, have you tried my cinnamon rolls?" She practically dragged the woman toward the kitchen. I waited until they were gone, then snapped photos of every page with my phone. Proof. That evening, James arrived with takeout and a stack of papers. "Look," he said, spreading them across my coffee table. "If you can prove identity theft, you can break your lease without penalty." His voice softened, especially with forged documents this clear. My laptop pinged with a new email from Eleanor. 3 links to Charleston apartments. Not glamorous, but clean and 20 minutes from the office, she'd written. I clicked one and stared at the photos. Sunlight filtering through white curtains, a small balcony overlooking a line of oak trees. The rent was reasonable. The distance from my family, priceless. 2 days later, an email arrived. "We're thrilled to offer you the position." I drove to a quiet parking lot to make the call. "I'm delighted to accept," I told Gregory. My voice sounded steady, grounded, like someone I hadn't met yet, but wanted to be. That night, I signed the lease for the Charleston apartment. Move-in date 3 weeks away. I whispered it aloud to the empty room, tasting the words like freedom. 2 more weeks until I escape. The morning of my escape arrived like any other soft light spilling through my blinds, the smell of coffee filling the kitchen. But beneath that calm rhythm was a pulse of quiet urgency. I had planned everything down to the minute. My family would be at a cake, tasting at noon, arguing over fondant and flavor samples. My moving truck was scheduled for 12:10 p.m. sharp. When the movers pulled into the parking lot, I watched from my window, heart racing as their blue uniforms flashed under the sunlight. My phone buzzed on the counter, 7 missed calls from Destiny, each more frantic than the last. I ignored them. "We'll start with the labeled boxes," I told the movers, handing them the floor plan I'd printed out. My voice sounded steady, professional, almost unrecognizable. For the first time in years, I was giving instructions instead of taking them. As they worked, I called my landlord folder of documents ready. Mr. Peterson. "I've provided the proof of identity theft," I explained. "The forged contract, the unauthorized credit line, all of it." There was a pause, then a low whistle on the other end. "Wouldn't want this happening to my own daughter," he said. "I'll have the lease break paperwork ready by tomorrow. No penalties." When I hung up, a wave of relief washed over me. One less chain. The movers wrapped furniture in thick blankets while I sat cross-legged on the bare floor, laptop open. With a few keystrokes, I transferred my accounts to Charleston's branch and canceled every credit card my family had ever seen. New numbers, new life. My phone buzzed again, Mom's name flashing like a warning light. I let it ring out. Then came her voicemail, sharp and trembling. "Andrea Collins, where are you? The venue needs decisions by 3. Call me immediately." Another voicemail followed, then another. I hit record on my laptop, saving each one as evidence. My pulse didn't even rise. Then came Destiny's text messages, each more desperate, more venomous. What the hell Andy 1 read? The venue says you haven't confirmed anything. I swear, if you ruin this for me, I'll never forgive you. 10 seconds later, answer your damn phone. Then, after everything we've done for you, this is how you repay us. I saved them all. Proof not pain. Dad's voicemail came next, low and commanding. Family takes care of family. Andrea, you have responsibilities here. Don't make me come find you. I saved that one twice. When the last box was taped shut, I took a final look around the apartment. The walls that had once felt suffocating now seemed like silent witnesses to my decision. My gaze caught on the coffee mug sitting on the counter, the one that had shattered the morning I found the forged contract. I'd glued it back together, the cracks still visible like a roadmap of everything I'd survived. I left it there, a small monument to the old me. By 2 p.m., the last box disappeared into the truck. My phone buzzed again, this time with a Facebook notification. Against my better judgment, I opened it. Mom's new post sat at the top of my feed. Heartbroken when children forget where they came from. After everything we sacrifice as parents. Hundreds of comments poured in. Friends, relatives, acquaintances offering sympathy. But mixed among them were cracks in the illusion. Lisa, my college roommate, commented, "Andy is the most responsible person I know. There must be some misunderstanding." My cousin Jennifer chimed in, "Wait, I thought the wedding was being scaled back. Aunt Carol said it's over $70,000. Someone else asked, "Who's paying for all this?" I felt something inside me unclench. Their carefully crafted story was unraveling on its own. Then James called. "The truck's here," he said. "Your bookshelf and desk are in my spare room. Everything's safe until you get down here." "Thank you," I whispered. "Stop thanking me. You'd do the same for me. Oh, and Eleanor called your office is ready whenever you arrive. The new landlord's fine with early move-in." His voice softened. "You're really doing it, Andy." Tears pricked my eyes. "Yeah," I said, glancing at the now empty apartment. "I really am." That evening, an email popped up from Bellamy Gardens' urgent payment deadline notice. The next installment, $22,000, was due in 3 days. I stared at the number, then at my reflection in the dark laptop screen. No more. Minutes later, another message came from Mom's friend at the catering company. "Your mother asked me to extend the deposit deadline again. I can't keep doing this, Andy. Business is business." And then one more from Destiny's future mother-in-law. "We're concerned about the finances. Can we discuss this before Sunday's dinner?" The dominoes were falling. As the movers pulled away, the city lights flickered on outside. My phone buzzed with one last text from Destiny's roommate. "Just so you know, Destiny's crying about having to cancel the florist and photographer." I stared at the message for a long moment, then slipped the phone into my pocket. The apartment was silent except for the hum of the refrigerator. I turned toward the door, exhaled slowly, and whispered, "It's time." I stepped into the hallway, closing the door behind me with a soft click. 4 days later, my phone wouldn't stop buzzing. 23 messages before breakfast, 37 more by nightfall. Each one pulsed with the same mix of guilt and accusation, Mom's frantic voice asking how I could abandon my family dad, warning me about legal consequences, Destiny threatening to never forgive me. I set the phone on the coffee table of my new Charleston apartment and watched it vibrate itself into silence. The afternoon light slanted through the blinds, golden and soft. I'd been here only 4 days, but already the space felt more like home than any house I'd ever lived in. The air smelled like fresh paint and new beginnings. Aunt Meredith's voicemail came next, her tone equal parts pity and reprimand. "Your mother's hysterical, dear. Everyone's so confused. Can't you just come to your senses?" I deleted it without listening to the end. Across the room, my calendar hung on the wall, the date of Destiny's wedding circled in red. 1 week away. The sight of it made my stomach twist, not from regret, but from disbelief at how close I'd come to losing myself completely. When my phone lit up again this time with Destiny's name, I hesitated. Then against every instinct, I answered. Her voice was jagged, broken from crying. "You selfish, ungrateful witch," she hissed. "After everything we've done for you." I cut her off. "Everything you've done for me." My voice was calm, too calm. "Pay for the wedding or you're dead to me," she snapped. "Simple as that." "That's your choice," I said softly. "Not mine." And before she could speak again, I hung up. My hands didn't shake this time. That night, I sat at my desk, the one James had kept safe for me, and opened my laptop. The document I'd spent weeks building was ready, a letter to Bellamy Gardens, explaining the forgery, the attached handwriting analysis, proving the differences between my signature and Destiny's the audio clip where she laughed about signing my name as a favor. I hovered over the send button for just a heartbeat, then clicked. Less than an hour later, my phone rang with an unfamiliar number. Miss Collins. The voice on the other end was tight professional. "This is Andy from Bellamy Gardens. We received your email. This is highly unusual. We'll need to speak with your sister and parents immediately." "I understand," I said. "My lawyer will also be in contact. The contract was signed without my consent or knowledge." After hanging up, I drafted one more email this time to my entire extended family. I didn't write with anger or accusation, just clarity. I attached copies of texts where I'd refused to pay, screenshots of bank statements, and the venue's confirmation that my ID didn't match the signature. No explanations, no begging to be believed, just truth. By that evening, my phone began lighting up again, this time with calls I didn't expect. Cousin Thomas out of breath and incredulous. "Holy hell, Andy, the venue just called Uncle Jim demanding immediate payment or they'll cancel everything. What's going on?" I let a small smile tug at my lips. "Ask Destiny," I said quietly. "Or better yet, ask her fiancé's parents." The fallout came in waves. Family group chats exploded with confusion. My parents called relatives desperate for emergency loans. The groom's family demanded a financial explanation and then a prenuptial agreement. By midnight, the chaos had spread like wildfire. I poured myself a glass of wine and stepped out onto my small balcony, the Charleston night warm and fragrant with magnolia blossoms. The harbor shimmered in the distance, and for the first time in years, my shoulders weren't tight with tension. The next morning, Destiny called. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity won. Her voice was hoarse. "Come to apologize," she asked bitterly. "No," I said simply. "I forgive you, but I won't forget." "You've ruined everything," she cried. "I've started over," I said. "Charleston is beautiful. My new firm values me. My paycheck belongs to me. You should try it sometime." Her voice cracked. "We're your family." "The wedding bill is the consequence of your choices, not mine," I said. "Maybe it's time you learned what that feels like." And with that, I hung up. By the end of the week, James texted updates from back home. My parents were meeting with loan officers. Destiny had slashed her guest list, canceled the ice sculpture, and traded her designer gown for a simpler dress. The lavish wedding was crumbling piece by piece. That evening, as I unpacked the last of my boxes, my phone buzzed one final time. Mom's voicemail. "Andy." She began, her voice small and quivering. "We never meant for it to go this far." There was a long pause, the faint sound of her breathing. Then the line clicked dead. I stared at the phone, then deleted the message. Outside, the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the Charleston sky in rose and gold. I leaned against the balcony railing, letting the warm air wrap around me. The harbor stretched endlessly ahead, rippling with light. For the first time, I didn't feel guilty for walking away. Some bridges burn for a reason. I closed my eyes, breathing in the salt air, the scent of freedom so sharp it almost hurt. The past was behind me now, ashes scattered across